YouTubers, and welcome to another Doctor Who Classic Series action figure review. Today I'm looking at the latest Classic Series exclusive release from Forbidden Planet and Underground Toys, which is the Cyberleader and Cyberman 2-pack from Silver Nemesis, the 7th Doctor story. Now, initially, I think lots of people thought that these figures weren't going to be necessarily that good because we only just recently had the Earthshock releases, which are very similar, but actually these figures are completely brand new sculpts. I looked through it and I cannot see one existing part of the sculpt from the previous release. Maybe a little bit in the head, but the whole body, the chest units, the guns are completely brand new. So if I just remove my two drones that I've got stood at the back there. The pack has the Cyberleader, as played by David Banks, and a regular Cyberman. It is the same figure, just a repaint. So I'm going to move the Cyberleader out of the way for the time being, because there's not really much to say that can't be said by just looking at the Cyberman. So the Cyberman, like I said, is a brand new sculpt. It is a very nice sculpt, and it features the same articulation as the previous figures in the line. The head does turn, shouldn't do really, but it does. In fact, all of the figures had their heads on an angle when I took them out of the packet. You have articulation at the shoulders, at the biceps, at the elbows. You also have articulation at the wrist. Just remove his gun. The wrist articulation is quite funny because the hands are very rubbery. And if you look here, if I zoom in, when I first took them out of the packet, obviously all the limbs were quite stiff and all the joints were very stiff. And turning this was a bit worrying because it almost felt like the peg there was twisting only so far, not actually twisting in the whole of the arm. But it was okay. But they are quite rubbery, and they're not loose necessarily, but they just feel a bit flimsy. So that's a bit of a worrying thing, but it should be okay if you're careful taking it out of the packet. And you have articulation at the hips. They don't go all the way up, not unless you force them, and I think if you do that you may get some paint rub, so I wouldn't force it. Obviously the hips go out to the sides as well. You have articulation at the thighs that do 360, and you have articulation at the knees. So let's take a quick look at the details of this figure. Like I said, it's completely new, and I'm going to do a comparison to the Earthshock one in a sec. The helmets are very similar to the Earthshock releases. The notable differences are the part at the top, the Earthshock heads have the holographic sort of greeny colour square, which then became black in later stories. This isn't the case with this helmet. It's got the little circle thing. I think that is actually sculpted into the head. I can't see if it's like a separate piece or anything. If it is a separate piece, then I take it they used the old Earthshock head. That could possibly be the case, but it doesn't look like it. The other difference from the Earthshock Cyberman is the mouthpiece. Now, on the original, the mouthpiece was clear and you could see the jaw inside. I believe there may still be a jaw in there, I can't really tell, but it's now been replaced with this sort of grating effect on the perspex of the chin section. I'm not sure if it was actual perspex on the helmet or if it was just this grating stuff. And of course they've just used the plastic to emulate that. The Cyberman also has new piping. Instead of the two tubes that the Earthshock Cybermen have, this is just one thick tube. And these run all the way down into the back of the chest piece. So yes, the chest piece is a brand new sculpt as well. This is notable due to the fact that it's a lot shorter than the other one. We have new inside section. The clear plastic also has these little sort of holes. If I hold it to the light, you can see it very clearly there. I can't recall that on the actual costumes, but I suppose it must have been there. Maybe it just didn't show up so well on the television. So the chest unit has this sort of grated bit at the back with this square section, and this is all rubber, and it's almost sort of like a plug that just plugs into there, and I think they've glued it. And then you have these other 3 pipes that fold all the way around into the chest unit at the front. Now, one of the notable differences with this than the actual on-screen counterpart is the fact that the helmet and the chest unit has not been painted in chrome. These Cybermen were always very, very, very shiny Cybermen because of the chrome finish to their helmets and their chest units, which I didn't mind. I think they were a bit too shiny, and I was unsure originally of whether I'd be happy that they'd removed that. To be honest, I don't think it takes anything away from the figure. I still think it looks great, minus the chrome, and maybe the chrome might have been a bit too garish actually, but no, I think having the normal silver finish has worked really well. The sculpt of the boiler suits for these Cybermen are also really, really nice. So much detail has gone into these, which you don't really come to expect all the time from exclusives. But no, these are really great. They've really captured the look. There's lots of different folds and creases. They've got all these little sort of patches of texture, just like it looks on the telly. And it's black with a silver wash over the top. The arms are also much in the same vein as that, lots of creases and things. These different bits of ribbed piping on the forearms with these little buttons, and that's on either side. I've already spoken about the hands being rubbery, and the hands have the sort of flared section of the arms that come up around the bottom of the wrists, which is to cover up the gap of the cricket gloves that the Cybermen are wearing. And the detail in the cricket gloves are really great because you can see all the pattern and things still on there. So that's some nice attention to detail. Saying that, however, on the right hand, it should have a sort of a piece that goes across these first 2 fingers. And this is missing on both the Cyberman and the Cyberleader. It's quite notable in the show on the Cyberleader because he's always clenching his right fist, and you can always see this obvious cricket glove. Not sure why Character Options, Underground Toys, removed that. They may have either missed it. I doubt it because it is quite an obvious thing. I'm probably expecting that it was more of a case of it looked daft, let's get rid of it. And then the legs, again, just the pointy feet, which is actually a continuation of the boiler suit, and then more piping down here. And the accessory is just the cyber guns that they use in that story. If you thought trying to get the Earthshock Cybermen to hold their guns was difficult, then you won't even want to attempt to try and tackle this, because it is quite fiddly. But I think I've got some sort of idea of how you can do it. So the detail on this also is really nice, lots of different bolts and screws on it, which gives it quite a detailed look. You can see the differences, like I said, in the head unit, and obviously this is now silver as opposed to being black, and the piping on the head is now different. It actually flows out as opposed to being tucked away. The back is the most notable of differences because of all the piping at the back. And of course the suits are very different, and the gloves and things, and the boots. So thank you for watching this review, guys. Overall, I would highly recommend trying to get these. If you're a fan of Silver Nemesis, I'd say go out and get them. I'm not a fan of Silver Nemesis. I don't particularly enjoy the story. But as a kid, I always thought that these Cybermen were cool, and especially that big fight that they have. But yeah, if you're a fan of the Cybermen, I think you'll really like this set. As you can see, I bought an additional pack because I do like to army build, especially when it comes to Cybermen as well. And seeing as these are exclusive, they probably won't be around for too long.